Hello. Today I'm making a review of the second book I finished this year, 2026, which is, unfortunately, I don't have the dust jacket, but it is Bread of Angels by Patti Smith. Lovely copy, though. This, light black, which is, I guess there's a word for that, gray, hardback copy. With those kind of ridged pages, which I love. Such a good aesthetic. Yeah, it's a memoir which I don't read a ton of. To be totally honest, the only memoirs I've read in recent memory have been all of Patti Smith's books. I am a super fan. I think Just Kids, her most famous book, is an absolute masterpiece. 5 out of 5. Certainly my favorite memoir of all time. One of my favorite pieces of nonfiction ever. It's so good for anyone who is even tangentially related to art, which is pretty much every person on planet Earth, really, would glean so much value out of that book. It's incredible. I need to make probably a separate video about it. But we're not talking about Just Kids today. We are talking about her newest book, Bread of Angels. This is very similar to all of her other books, M Train and Year of the Monkey, in that it is this, in traditional memoir style, a recounting of certain events in her life that created the unbelievable artist that she is today, and what became of her unbelievable artistic career. She's an incredible musician, incredible poet, phenomenal prose writer. Her book of photography is also very good. She's just one of my favorite people probably to exist in the creative world. However, Bread of Angels specifically, I think, is her worst book, which is a pretty harsh way of saying it's just not as good. This is a good book. Sorry, let me restart. This is a good book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 on the Goodreads. It's just that she suffers from success. Just Kids is so good, and M Train is so good, and Year of the Monkey is pretty good, that it just can't stand up to the rest of her catalog. And there's a few reasons for this. This book is ambitious. It starts from literally her being 1 year old and spans the entire length of her life. It goes all the way till the modern day when she is writing the book, which is a lot. So if you are a Patti Smith fan, this is an invaluable book. It goes into details that are implied in all of her other books but aren't really expanded on. And the section on her childhood is especially great because you can kind of see the young influences that created this once-in-a-lifetime artistic spirit. And so it provides incredible context for her life. One of the things when I read Just Kids, it starts when she's about 18 and first moves to New York. And I just had this persisting question of, how did you get here? How did you know you had to be an artist? What were the influences that led to that iconic self-assuredness? And this book answers all of those questions. So it's a perfect piece of supplementary text. I wouldn't say it is a critical part of understanding Patti Smith, but if you've read all her other work, you're going to love this book. The reason it isn't as good as some of her other work, and the reason it suffers just a little bit, is that because the storytelling is so ambitious and so encompasses such a huge swath of time, you lose a little bit of that signature specificity that makes her work so good. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who is also a really big fan of Patti Smith's and what we like so much about her work. And to me, what stands out, what differentiates her as a memoirist, is the kind of details that she uses. They're so specific in ways you wouldn't really expect. Like she'll spend 2 paragraphs discussing the grain of her desk or the piece of fabric she used to lay on the floor, or a character meeting somebody and a certain character trait, not that describing them even physically. It's this like depth of their like gaze or some sort of quirk of theirs. So she skips all the general details of her life and her surroundings and the events that took place, and instead puts in these hyper specific to her details that really let you get this super unique perspective. And the way she achieves this is that she's such a religious journaler that when she goes back and writes these books, I think she mentions either in this book or somewhere else her process where so much of it is pulled from old journal entries. So just the specifics of what she was writing at the time the event happened is so, there's a chronicle of it, and so she can achieve this level of specificity that most people would only be able to speculate about if they were going back 50 years in their life to a certain time. But she's got that handwritten account, and it creates this atmosphere that feels so true to life. And what's remarkable about it is the fact that it is so true to life. You get this notion that she has lived an extraordinary life. The people she knows, the places she was at the right time, the collaborations, her relationship to people like Bob Dylan and Allen Ginsberg. It's incredibly cool to see all of the kind of the stories that aren't widely known. You get a little anecdote about Bob Dylan in the green room or something like that. Some sort of story even about another artist that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. So Bread of Angels is really cool if you want to know more about how certain albums came to be, or how certain poems or the artists who influenced her life. William Burroughs is a big recurring character in here, and she talks a lot about her husband, Fred Sonic Smith. So there's, as much as this is a recounting of her own life, you also get these looks into other very famous artists, Susan Sontag, Annie Leibovitz. So someone in criticism, in photography, in music, in poetry, she knows all of these people, and you get to see them kind of come in and out of her life. So it's really cool. It's definitely a recommend for me, but with a little asterisk. I would, if you haven't read any Patti Smith, read Just Kids, M Train, and Year of the Monkey first. Definitely read Just Kids first. It's the greatest introduction to her as a writer, and then leave this kind of as a supplemental text. You could reverse this order and read the supplemental stuff first, and so when you get to the eras of Just Kids and M Train, you'll have a little bit of a backdrop to contextualize things, which could be an interesting way to read it. But I read it where I read Just Kids first, and obviously I read this last because it just came out. But I think that's the way to do it, because it'll get you hooked. Just Kids will get you hooked on Patti Smith and Patti Smith's life, even if you don't love nonfiction typically. I don't love nonfiction typically, and I read it because it came super highly recommended to me, and I can promise you that even if you're not a fan of nonfiction, you will like it. that being said, I know this video is about Bread of Angels. I'm kind of just talking about Patti Smith in general, but yeah, a bit of a 3 out of 5. She's still an amazing prose writer. She's got certain flashes of brilliance in the way that she words certain things. She's got this really cool outlook on the world that is a little spiritual and really inspirational if you yourself make art. So yeah, I was a little disappointed by it because I wanted that same hallmark specificity that we get in all her other books, but I'm certainly not complaining that it exists. Anything new from her is a very welcome surprise, and I hope that she can even write another book before she passes, because she's getting pretty old now. Yeah. That was it. Second read of 2026, Bread of Angels, Patti Smith. Yeah, go check it out if you're a fan of art, if you're a fan of music, if you're a fan of Patti Smith's. And thanks for watching.